Hello, and thank you all for being here. First, I'd like to introduce the principal authors, or most of the principal authors on our climate statement of 2013. We have Neil Bernstein from Mount Mercy University, Laura Jackson from the University of Northern Iowa, Jean Tockley from Iowa State University, Greg Carmichael from the University of Iowa, and Jerry Schnorr from the University of Iowa. In 2011, a group of researchers from Iowa State's climate science program put together a statement on how climate change is expected to affect Iowans. That statement urged policymakers to acknowledge the overwhelming evidence that supports the conclusions of the climate community, and it was signed by 44 scientists working in climate and climate-affected disciplines. In 2012, an expanded group of experts updated the statement to discuss the impacts and implications of that year's historic drought. That statement was endorsed by 137 Iowa scientists from 28 different universities and colleges from around the state. This year, we are again releasing a statement, the goal of which is to draw attention to the impacts that increasing levels of heat-trapping gases are having and are expected to have on Iowa's critical agricultural production. Because news coverage continues to discuss extreme weather events, often without connecting the dots of past predictions and current outcomes, we felt that it was important to update our previous statements with information discussing the expected increase in extreme wet and dry events as carbon pollution continues to grow, and the ramifications on agriculture. Our updated statement was written by a team of climate experts from Iowa State, the University of Iowa, and other institutions, and signed by 154 scientists representing 36 different Iowa colleges and universities. I apologize, it's 155 now. Every year, evidence has been building in Iowa and around the world that there are consequences to the continued release of large quantities of heat-trapping gases into the atmosphere. Our goal with this statement is to continue to identify climatic patterns that are consistent with predictions and weather conditions that experts expect to become more common in the future. It's clear that we've already committed ourselves to a significant change in temperature and rainfall patterns, so solutions will need to take multiple forms, including adaptations to new conditions, acceptance of the loss of land and land uses that are no longer viable, infrastructural changes to provide resilience, and of course, reductions in carbon emissions to mitigate long-term damages. There is and will be a legitimate debate about how to balance adaptation and mitigation options that we have, but we gain nothing if we act as if there's uncertainty where there's not, or that there's significant division among scientists regarding the causes of climate change. Our goal in issuing this statement is to put a local face on the issue with respected professors and researchers from all parts of the state, agreeing with the basic message. Our hope is that reporters, civic organizational leaders, and members of our communities will see the names on the list that they know and trust, and strike up conversations with them about how and about what climate change means for people in Iowa and elsewhere. So I'd like to introduce, or I guess I just already did, Jean Tockley to talk a little bit about the statement itself.
Thank you, David. First of all, I'd like to thank the co-authors here of this and underscore that the statement has been endorsed very widely by our colleges and universities across the state. So this isn't simply a statement by a few scientists, but it's recognized as being important by people of our educational communities across the state. The last couple of years have underscored the fact that we are very vulnerable to weather conditions and weather extremes in Iowa. Both 2012 and 2013 brought heavy rains in the spring and followed by dry conditions after about the 4th of July. And particularly this change, what we call the change in seasonality of shifting more precipitation to the spring of the year, has been predicted by models for 20 years, and now it's showing up in the record of the last 40 years. And this has become a real issue for us, particularly with regard to getting crops planted in the spring. We had 900,000 acres that weren't planted in Iowa this year because of these intense spring rains. So we shouldn't, and we as scientists are very careful to try to understand the causes, and we're not saying that all of these weather events that we're seeing, these extremes, they're not all caused by climate change. But they do have high impact on agriculture, and it underscores the need for us to build resilience into our landscape and our economy, resilience to weather, because our agricultural community, our agricultural management practices are being refined and are more tuned to specifics of our weather, and sometimes when we have these extremes, it really causes more economic damage than otherwise might if we were more resilient, had a more resilient landscape. So one of the things that's really been underscored in the last 2 years is these heavy spring rains have led to enhanced soil erosion. And this is one of our most precious resources in this state. So we need to be thinking about how to better manage the landscape to protect against soil erosion and build a resilience into the agricultural economy. So that's just a few brief comments. We'll be happy to take any questions from any of the group here.